Most could not resist the temptation and ate the treat right away, while only a third demonstrated patience and waited for the greater reward. This experiment confirmed the theory of delayed gratification, which states that the ability to forego immediate pleasures in favor of a more significant goal is one of the key factors of success. Psychologists and neuroscientists have repeatedly validated this principle. I call it sacrifice, the conscious refusal of superficial joys in exchange for future achievements. In my life, I have given up many entertainments, meaningless gatherings, pointless conversations, club nights, and other distractions. I did not want to become part of a thoughtless consumer society because I understood that by choosing the path of the majority, I would inevitably become the same, craving the unnecessary and dependent on fleeting pleasures. I recognized the value of my energy and the natural potential given to each of us, and I would not allow temptations to rob me of this strength. Short-term pleasure here and now, or deep satisfaction in the future, I have always chosen the latter. But to achieve this, one must continuously resist the temptations that surround us in abundance. The modern world has made people hostages of consumption, turning them into slaves of goods and services that suppress their individuality, drain their inner resources, and, most importantly, strip them of their freedom. A consumer is a person who has lost control over their life, enslaved by their desires and whims. Understanding this, I realized, if I want to be better, I cannot follow the beaten path. I sought freedom, but I knew that it could not be attained while living the life of an ordinary consumer. Freedom cannot be achieved if your days consist of mindless scrolling through social media filled with degrading content. It cannot be found in late-night drinking sessions and dubious pleasures. True freedom is available only to those who can set the right priorities, preserve their energy, avoid distractions, and not give excessive importance to trivial matters. Value your time, protect your mental state, and respect yourself as an individual. Otherwise, chaos will consume your thoughts and ideas. Believe me, each of you has an inner voice that tells you the right path to take. It manifests when your true needs awaken, not those imposed on you by society. The modern world thrives on artificially created desires that mask genuine values. How did this happen? It's simple. If you know history, you understand where it all started. The origins lie in the consumer culture of mid-20th century America. After World War II, the U.S. economy experienced an unprecedented boom, especially after the dollar became the world's reserve currency. In 1971, the gold standard was abolished, and money began to be printed in massive amounts without any real backing. Such economic growth required people to consume more and more, as basic needs were no longer enough to sustain the pace of production. Thus, the consumer society became the new reality in which we live today. How do you make people buy something they don't actually need? It's simple. Create a culture of consumption, impose artificial desires, and ensure that sales and transactions multiply. Do you realize that you are the one fueling this system, supporting those who manufacture these illusory needs? That's why the choice is always yours, to become a creator or remain just a consumer. The second fundamental principle of my life is systematic approach, discipline, and consistency. To me, these concepts are almost synonymous, but it is the systematic approach that plays a decisive role. It's not just about repeating actions. It's about a structured process that leads to results. Most people live without a system. Today they do too much. Tomorrow they do nothing at all. Such a chaotic rhythm inevitably leads to abandoning their goals. That's why so many people quit before even reaching the halfway point. In business, systematicity is the foundation of success. Imagine a company that needs to produce 200 pipes per week. If production happens without a clear plan, 10 today, 30 tomorrow, 25 the day after, the final result will be vague and unpredictable. But if you divide 200 by 7 days, you get 28 pipes per day. This method allows you to control the process and ensures that the goal is reached. The same principle applies to any endeavor, learning a language, working on a project, or mastering a new profession. The key is not to burn out, not to do too much at once, but to move in small, steady steps. By doing something every day, even just a little, you will achieve far more than if you worked in bursts. One day at full capacity, then a week of inactivity. This is the essence of discipline, consistency, and systematization. Such an approach also reduces stress. When you understand where you are going, your nervous system remains in balance. If each day represents 1% of the journey, in 100 days you will reach your goal without excessive strain. Remember, consistency is the price of your freedom. As long as your life is chaotic, as long as you keep jumping from one thing to another, others are already moving toward their goals in a structured and methodical way. Many mistakenly believe that freedom is the ability to do whatever you want, but in reality, such an approach leads to chaos and dependency. There is a concept called disciplinary freedom, which means that true freedom is not the absence of restrictions, but the ability to govern yourself. Control and self-discipline make a person truly free. As a financial expert, I can say that people's chaotic behavior is directly linked to inflation. When desires spiral out of control, demand rises, and money devalues. Add to this the culture of living on credit, where people consume more than they can afford, and you get a mechanism that fuels inflation and destabilizes the economy. Friedrich Nietzsche once said that true freedom is achieved through self-overcoming. He criticized herd mentality, which makes people weak and dependent on others' opinions. Nietzsche believed that freedom requires working on one's weaknesses, not indulging them. This principle remains just as relevant today. Friedrich Nietzsche called this the concept of becoming the Übermensch. But who is this Übermensch? It is an individual who has transcended mediocrity, broken free from imposed illusions, and achieved the highest level of independence. Take note, ultimate independence is a state in which your thoughts, desires, and decisions belong solely to you, not dictated by society. You are no longer a follower, no longer part of the crowd, but a fully autonomous and self-aware individual. That is the kind of person I strive to become. I constantly analyze, study, and adjust my development trajectory. However, I am not a fanatic of Nietzsche or any other philosopher. I take only what works from their teachings, adapt it, and test it in practice. This is how I form my own theories, structure knowledge, and apply it to achieve my goals. Self-control and discipline as a foundation for success. Modern neuropsychology has long proven that self-control and discipline directly influence a person's ability to make rational decisions, resist short-term temptations, and achieve long-term results. So, my friend, take control of your life, your desires, and your energy. You will be amazed at the results. Focus, the ultimate growth tool. Another core principle of my life is concentration on capital growth. I am focused on one global mission 24/7, and all my actions are aligned with its execution. I never scatter myself across multiple tasks. Even as a child, I was single-task oriented. I hated being distracted from what I was focused on. Today I have become more diplomatic, but my core principle remains unchanged. I am deeply convinced that multitasking dilutes focus and reduces efficiency. My focus is my greatest asset. It allows me to analyze everything I do because analysis is the foundation of all decision-making. When faced with a choice, I don't think about how to relax after a tough week, because that leads to missed opportunities. If you are an entrepreneur striving for freedom, you must devote yourself to one primary mission. The deeper you focus on your work, the faster you will see results. This is not just a theory, it is a scientific fact. In 1993, neuroscientists discovered that violinists who had practiced for over 10,000 hours experienced structural changes in their motor cortex. New neural connections were formed. This same principle applies to business, sports, and art. Focus not only boosts efficiency, but also physically reshapes the brain. Economic proof of focus. Economics confirms this principle. According to David Ricardo's theory of comparative advantage, nations that specialize in a single industry thrive, even with limited resources. For example, Switzerland doesn't grow cocoa, yet it dominates the premium chocolate market due to deep specialization. Another remarkable effect of focus is that it can alter the perception of time. During deep work, people subjectively feel that time slows down. This is linked to changes in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. When applied to economics, the same principle holds. When a country or company concentrates on a single direction, it accumulates knowledge and achieves technological breakthroughs. South Korea, in the 1980s, focused on semiconductors, and now Samsung is a global leader in the industry. Calmness and composure, the key to managing chaos. If you want to achieve something significant, you must maintain focus and direct your time and energy toward your primary goal. Otherwise, your progress will remain chaotic and insignificant. And finally, the last principle I follow: composure, and inner calm. In business, every day brings something new, and without this ability, it is impossible to stay resilient. Every day, we have to make decisions that lead to hundreds, even thousands of consequences. This inevitably increases stress levels. If a person is unprepared, their nervous system can't handle the pressure, and they burn out quickly. Composure is not coldness or cruelty. Composure is often misunderstood as coldness or cruelty. In reality, it is the ability to preserve energy, control emotions, and avoid unnecessary distractions. Those who cannot manage their emotions will eventually become weak. An overly emotional person is vulnerable. In the world of business and competition, the most patient and composed individuals win. Nervousness leads to indecision, and indecision leads to failure. Niccolò Machiavelli wrote that a ruler who cannot make tough decisions will inevitably fall victim to those who take action. A person who gives in to emotions becomes gullible, and gullibility is a weakness. Machiavelli warned that those who rely solely on promises rather than power risk being trapped. In today's world, softness, indecisiveness, and the inability to make firm decisions make a person an easy target. How to develop composure and resilience. I have always worked on controlling my emotions, not to harm others, but to protect myself. If, in a critical moment, you fail to stay calm, emotional pressure will break you. Burnout becomes inevitable. To prevent this, you must train your nervous system in advance. Learn to control fear. Practice staying calm. Develop emotional resilience. Without these skills, building your own business will expose you to such intense pressure that it will crush all your plans. I have shared with you my fundamental life principles. If you integrate them into your daily routine, your character will strengthen, and independence will become more than just a dream. It will become reality. Remember, true freedom is not about doing whatever you want. It's about having full control over yourself. People filled with ideas rarely know what a peaceful sleep is. On average, a person processes around 60,000 thoughts per day, but I feel like my mind generates them many times more. Leo Tolstoy once said that thought is the beginning of everything, and working on one's thoughts is the foundation of self-improvement. Managing one's thinking and directing it in the right way is a key task. I have developed a set of principles and rules that have become the foundation of my growth. It is thanks to them that I have become who I am, and it is about them that I want to speak. In 1970, psychologist Walter Mischel conducted the famous marshmallow experiment. Children aged 4 to 6 were offered one marshmallow, but they had a choice: eat it immediately or wait 15 minutes and receive 2.